All right. Hello, Abby. How's it going?
Good. Hey, this is fun.
Let's see.
Yeah, how are you liking the party thus far?
You have to, yeah.
This is great. We've tried to host some parties, but I think what we were missing was the background music. That really is making it feel like a real space, and people are talking over each other and throwing things, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's getting pretty rowdy in here. I'm glad that we have had a lot of people from Larval show up. Everyone's with their headsets hanging out.
Yep. Yeah, we've got lots of friends here. Some on the web, mostly headset, and it's cool to see them having a good time. We mostly do work in Spatial, so this is really nice to show them a fun, just social activity.
Absolutely. So of course we've spoken a lot before about Larval's work in VR, and let's talk some more about it today. So I just want to introduce our guest here, Abby. Abby is VP of Marketing at Larval, and I'll let you introduce yourself some more. And I'm Bree Scully, Product Marketing Manager at Spatial, and I would love to have you just introduce Larval and what you guys are working on with in general as your product as well as VR.
Yeah, totally. So Larval is an intelligence provider for pharma and biotechs around the world. I joined in January of this year in the middle of their experiments with virtual reality. They had decided late last year to give it a try. One, to explore the implications of putting cancer data and medical data in virtual reality eventually. But also once they started to put the headsets on, they realized that it could be a really great collaboration tool. It's a fully remote team and has been for 17 years, so they've always been on the forefront of how can they work remotely with great success, and so VR was kind of a natural next step. So we went VR first. I think in February or March we announced that and decided this was going to be our main place of business on Spatial. So we have team rooms, we have individual offices, we do everything we can in VR, and then video has become kind of a backup to that. So it's been a really fun ride. Well, not what I expected when I took the job, but I've gone head first in, and we're loving it. It's really been fun.
Did you ever imagine yourself working in VR?
No, I didn't. It's really interesting to be, I knew what remote work looked like after a year in my old job of COVID, but it definitely had nothing to do with VR, and I never had put a headset on before. My husband had gotten an Oculus for gaming like a week before I started the job, and then it was like, oh, we're all in. The world changed like overnight.
Amazing. And what was adjusting to VR work like for you?
Yeah, well, it was kind of neat because everyone was adjusting at the same time. They hadn't been doing this for a long time.
Build something like that.
It's pretty strange.
I like his name, Stephanator.
Oh, to build this.
Okay, got it.
It was quite a while.
Hey guys, please. Someone's playing with the spatial audio toggle.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's actually a good example. We've had to learn all those things, like who's really running the room, and can make those changes, and who needs to be, because you do tend to. One of the strange things that happens is you talk over each other in a way that you wouldn't, or you step on each other by doing different controls. So there's a whole etiquette to VR, but we're figuring it out.
Absolutely.
I got a little dizzy, like the first few times I got a little dizzy, but then once I figured out the controls are pretty fluid, especially in Spatial. I can't do some of the interactive games, but Spatial I can do, and it became kind of natural. Once you get over the fact that you don't have legs, and everyone looks a little bit the same, you do start to connect with people, and it feels more real, and that's one of the reasons we've stuck with it, is it's giving some proximity to our teams that we've never had before.
Absolutely. I mean, when I first started using VR, I was always feeling like really, really dizzy. But I think that as softwares and hardwares have gotten better, it is really like once you get over that initial learning curve, it feels pretty natural. At least that's been my experience. Maybe I just got used to it.
Yeah, I even got some of those like bracelets like you wear on a cruise, like seasick bracelets. But I don't think they did anything, so.
Yeah. So when you started using Spatial, what was the first type of meeting or event that you had?
Yeah, so we have about 180 team members across the globe. I think we were trialing at first with the 20 or so managers. So we had 20 or so people, and the first room that we had a group meeting in that I was a part of was the amphitheater space, kind of the outdoor amphitheater, and it was really nice to have everyone actually, for the first time, they didn't know they needed this, but they were all sitting in the same room, so that was really powerful. And it also gives a little bit of the good parts of corporate culture that you're missing if you don't have that, the ability for someone to stand up front and present, or people to come up front and have that experience of presenting and leading a meeting. Those are things that you kind of miss if you're all flat on the same surface and the same screen. So that was really cool. And then I also know that our executive team made early use of that boardroom to have a conversation where we're all sitting around a table looking at each other, but able to turn and have those kind of more natural social cues really added a lot to that experience.
I love how you describe that. And would you say that company culture or productivity was more of the goal for Larval?
Oh, culture for sure. I think they've gotten, in 17 years, they've gotten really good at getting things done remotely. Zoom, SharePoint, those kind of things. Slack, they've been a big user of. But to shift to actually being in the space together was something we didn't know we needed, and has really made a big difference in feeling connected, especially in a year where the distance felt especially hard. A huge part of our team is in India and has been especially hard hit by COVID, and just trying to really be there in a physical way for our team members, to be able to turn to them, to high five, a lot of times when someone is having trouble with Spatial, like their headset is down or something, we'll just give them a little hug. There's those little things you get that personal touch. So definitely culture. I think before we tell people about our product, sometimes we tell them that we're VR first, and it shows that we are forward thinking and innovative, and we're not waiting for it to be a really easy thing. It is not super easy all the time, but we believe it's worth it and that it's where we're headed, and we'll be ahead of the curve by really going all in.
Absolutely. And you have a really interesting program for getting users headsets, right? So it's kind of like a reward, like you get your headset.
Yeah, so when we announced that we were finally going VR first, we implemented, I think it's, for some roles it's 3 months, graduation to VR, and for many it's 1 year, just to make sure people are fitting in and are onboarded to everything about the company before you add VR on top of it. And it does become kind of okay, you've made it here, now you're in. But what's really nice is even before they have the headset experience, they can do the web now. So that's made a big difference. They can join the meetings, they get the concept of VR on the web before the headset. That was a nice implementation. This year we also added a VR intern to help with that process. And she's done some amazing unboxing videos and video training for people. Like, what is this thing that just came in the mail? What are you going to do with it? Even before you try to say, here's what you do on Spatial, how do you do that? We also have been doing that with our customers, which has been an interesting adventure of trying to get pharmaceutical VPs and oncologists and all these people on headset in Spatial and into the same room. Is worth the effort, but it's quite an undertaking for sure.
Amazing. And so when you bring in these clients of yours, what types of things are you showing them?
Yeah, so we actually, the team that made this space, M2, built us an art gallery. We wanted to host a special event around the American Society of Clinical Oncologists conference. It's the Super Bowl of medical conferences for the year, and that's our target market. So we knew if it were in person, we would have gone to Chicago. We would have had a big dinner party or something fun for our VIP friends. And so since it was a virtual conference this year, again, it was a perfect chance for us to do something virtually, which is really our brand anyway. So we had this beautiful NFT gallery built. It's it's nighttime, starry sky with an open roof and all these cool architectural details. We have our giant tiger outside when you load in as a statue. And we actually went through the process of buying a few NFTs. So we started our NFT collection, and we have this space, and we wanted to just give customers and oncologists, friends, this space. At the end of the event, we hosted just a big post party, and it was really a cool thing. It made it into the room, which was the first challenge, right? I wasn't sure if people would be able to figure it out, but they did, and they really got it. And now they've been back for meetings or for conversations about a big, whoa, we have a beach ball problem here. But it's been a big hit. Now we're planning to use it for other purposes. We're going to use it for an internal Night at the Museum event for our team and showcase some of our employee art or their kids. You know, it's just kind of endless possibilities once you have a nice background to paint on.
I love that. So when I just talked to you before, we talked a little about, customizing and making these spaces feel like personalized, like your offices. What has the journey of creating those spaces been like for Larval?
Yeah, we actually are just now at the point where we've got some standards, but we've just been playing, right? We've just been saying, do whatever you want and let's see what sticks, because that's how we do things, as fast as we can, trying to figure things out. But now we're at the point where we have the logo file that we like, and that's the one you should use, and there should only be one of those in the room. We have our tiger mascot, Ty. We have a few versions of him to put in your office. So it's really, there's a few standards, and then we encourage people to have fun. So every team has their own space, and what's cool about the custom environment feature is we can change that space, right? So by coming to my marketing room, it's usually the one space that's kind of the open, bright, airy office. Sometimes we change it to the fireside room if we want to have a, sort of relaxing conversation, or sometimes we change it to a plate that we found in the objects just because it makes you think differently. So that's a nice feature. You don't have to have multiple offices. You can kind of change your office. But we have probably about 5 stable spaces that teams use and you can pop into, and then everyone else is just, it's the Wild West still. We're having fun.
So I've seen you posting on LinkedIn, and you and Bruno and other Larval employees use the term metaverse. Now, this is kind of a buzzword in the AR/VR space right now, and I'd love to hear how you define that.
Interesting. Well, I might define it wrong for the technical people listening.
No wrong answers.
Okay. Well, the way I think about it, when I was interviewing at Larval, Bruno described it as, we're not a company. Think about it, we are a mission, and he means a mission not like a vision, but like a mission to Mars. Like he says, Elon Musk is going to Mars. We are going to the metaverse. So in a way, it's like the next level of everything for us. We have visions of what our products could look like, of what we could contribute to, the cancer healthcare conversation in the metaverse. To me, it's just like the next level. And so in the VR space, we understand that to be, we would have more natural, everything we're doing would be in the metaverse, instead of maybe home being your first environment and then the office being the second. Maybe the metaverse is really the place where most things are happening in some form or fashion, and then maybe home is hopefully still a physical space for at least the foreseeable future. But it's just that kind of mind jump of like into overdrive and the next level. It definitely feels like it's like a different space altogether. Bruno defines it different ways depending on the day, but it's definitely something that we've rallied around, and sometimes we think about it, what would be the next version of this idea? Like, if we're gonna fast forward 15 years, what do you think? Where could it go?
Amazing. I love that description, because it is very open-ended, but it's, this future forward attitude that you all have, where, you've cured cancer with data and you live in the metaverse.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
I love it. So as your virtual headquarters in Spatial, we are about to, make Spatial a little bit more public, and, are interested in this concept of the metaverse as you describe it. And we're curious how you feel like your headquarters is going to change, or how your headquarters is going to fit into that world.
Oh, cool. So I think we talked a little bit about this, but you mean like lobby spaces that anyone can come into and find your office or your space from that.
Right. Or even let's talk about like lobby as so if they will both have like public and private lobbies. How do you think that that concept will change the way that Larval interacts? So you'll have a central space you go into and then access to your rooms.
Oh, I think that will be super helpful and really fit with our mindset of kind of doing everything out in the open. We've been having recently our all company meetings on Clubhouse. So like other people can come in. We're talking about what we're up to. If you're interested, you're welcome, so very extroverted sort of thinking with the thought that makes you fail faster. You see things sooner if you keep it out in the open. So I think I imagine we would keep, we would put the doormat out for anybody in some spaces. The more people we'd love for everyone to come check it out. I think that would be cool.
Awesome. So let's take a step back from upcoming features. I'd love to know what spatial features right now empower Larval the most, or which ones you use most often.
Yeah, we're screen sharing in every single gathering we have in some way, shape, or form. And those of us with Macs have really found the spatial cast to be like next level. It's amazing. So the team with Windows is still asking me every day, when are we going to be able to do that? Because it is so much easier and smoother, and it makes it possible to pull something up really quick. When you weren't planning to present in that call, but let me just pull that up really quickly. We also we're taking selfies all the time. Just the ability to quickly shift gears to pulling something up like a globe to pass around. You guys taught us that trick, right? To help control who's talking in the meeting. Those sort of things. I'm trying to think of other key features. That's okay. We also use notes a good bit lately.
Drink.
Oh, thank you.
To pass you.
Thank you. I'm a little parched. We've been getting better at taking notes, using the notes feature. For a while we would try to Stevie Wonder and take notes on paper, but if you just kind of jot it down really quickly and keep all your notes to the side and then take a picture of them at the end, it's kind of a nice way to, again, like out in the open. Your notes are right there in the open. You get that confirmation. Oh yeah, that is what we decided. It's written down. Everyone sees it. My headset is low. Let me plug it in. I'm trying to think. We've loved having the ability to jump between rooms really easily. Let's all go there. And if everyone's been there before, that's really easy. It's still a little difficult if you haven't before. But now that we have sort of our office set up, everyone has access to all the rooms. That's pretty seamless too. We actually did an interesting thing. I said 180 teammates. We call ourselves Tigers. So 180 Tigers. And we wanted to have an all-hands meeting. And that, obviously, we can't put all 180 people in one room, but what we did was we did sort of a round robin where we had 5 different spaces set up and 5 people presenting, and they would just do their presentation, 5 times as people circled through the space in the course of the hour. And it was really fun. It was chaos. They were, people were evaporating and coming in and in the wrong room, but it was a fun experiment, and it helped people think about, well, what really do I need, instead of just having meetings for the sake of meetings, what do I really need to communicate to these people, when we do get them in the room, and it almost adds like a level of, it's really special and you want to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. In what ways does spatial feel more special, and I guess why? I guess I'm curious what your personal feelings are about that.
Yeah, so some things I noticed right away is that idea of things happening sort of naturally and on accident, like when you run into someone or you materialize right on top of them. There's a little bit of like the natural office culture that happens when you're in the same space. It doesn't happen on Zoom. There's not like naturally, you don't trip down the hallway or something like that. So there's a little bit of a natural humanity to it. And also just that ability to actually change who you're looking at. and them know it. So like in Zoom, you can't tell who I'm looking at. I'm just staring at the screen, and I may be staring at another window or YouTube or my phone. But here, you know I'm looking at you, and then you know I'm not looking at you, and you have to get my attention. And we've actually, a couple people have the HoloLens, and that's an even more of an experience where you can see their eye movement, you know, so that will be kind of the next step of getting to see, oh, you're facing me, but are you even looking at me? I don't know. But right now I assume you are because that's what I see.
Right.
But that's one of the biggest things is that ability. We've also had, I think I was talking a little bit earlier about that kind of giving a presentation, that experience of really doing something in a room with people. We've had some people who have never done that. You know, they've only had remote jobs, and they get a little nervous about going down to the front of the room and turning and learning to, you know, those are basic skills that I think it's important we don't all lose just because we're in a more remote culture.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even us right now doing this recording in the middle of an actual party. We're like, you know, that is a focus experiment that is definitely, you know, something that you can't get on Zoom. Yeah, cheers.
We should cheers. There you go.
Cheers.
That's really fun. And those kind of things, we actually have a tic-tac-tie in my marketing, we call it tic-tac-tie, the tiger, in our marketing office that we built. We had a friend build for us, so it's fun to see another one. And it is nice to have something you can do, you know, okay, we need 5 minutes, or let's just meet there after, you know, meetings, and it's nice to have things you can do together that aren't, you know, just staring at each other.
Absolutely. I'd love to back up to the point you made about AR. So you said that a couple people join on HoloLenses. Now, I mean, Spatial, of course, we started as an AR company, and now I'd say, I mean, I don't know the exact percentage, but a large majority of our users join in VR. And so I'd love to hear, I guess, kind of your thoughts on, you know, the ways that those experiences for those employees versus the VR employees differ.
Yeah, it's interesting. Bruno, I don't know if he's still in here. He might be. But he's the one with the HoloLens that uses it the most. And he's been spending, you know, he spends probably 5 or 6 hours a day in headsets. So he definitely was interested in the lighter model and what, you know, what was coming next. And so he has found that it's great because he's moving around more naturally. He can eat and do other things. But it does remove that piece of like total focus, right? You can multitask because you can see more of what's around you. So he has to kind of make that decision about what kind of conversation am I trying to have? Do I need the benefits of being totally in the room, or am I less important to this conversation and I can kind of multitask? He also told me when I'm in the room with him, I always end up in the fridge somehow, which I haven't experienced. But he's got, you know, he's in his kitchen and I'm always in the fridge. So I'm not. I have to try that to experience it.
That's pretty funny, but also maybe he's just always getting snacks.
That's possible. That's possible too. But I think for some companies that haven't been doing remote and are thinking about going back to the office sort of thing, that might be an easier in, right? So, okay, some of us are here, we're going to bring in those that aren't, you know, and they're in the room with us, or we're going to look at something together. That's definitely, I can see that application. For us, it might be more complicated than full VR.
No, definitely. I mean, I think that you know, from people I've spoken to, you know, you do get that eye contact. So, you know, people sitting, if there are people sitting in the same physical space, you know, not being able to see them because you both have headsets on, of course, is a little unnatural. But then you don't get the benefit of like beautiful environments like this that are really novel experiences. You know, it's you know, the space is really amazing and pretty, but it's about the experiences that you can have in them, and those, you know, places that you couldn't be at, that don't exist in the real world or couldn't exist in the real world.
Yeah. I mean, my team is here with us. Is my emails marketing specialist is in Paris, and my digital marketing specialist is in Toronto. We've never all been in the same room. We were just like in the pool, you know, and that like added this whole other level of fun. So that was really neat. Thank you.
Awesome. And so a last question that I have for you is, so I'm really interested in so Larval is, you guys were the very first company that Spatial spoke to that was building their headquarters in VR. And what I find so very interesting about that is that you guys create a product that doesn't have anything to do with the AR VR space. And I think,
well, right now it doesn't. Yeah, that's true. And I think that's what has been fun about it. It's like we're here because it makes sense for us culturally, and because we believe in it as an innovative, future, and not because we're selling something that naturally, we're not making games in AR, we're not selling equipment or anything like that. But our first initial attraction to it was, what is that going to, also, what does the metaverse look like for the data that we curate and collate data for pharmaceutical companies and for doctors, and so what will it look like to, some of the things we're experimenting with in virtual reality are, data models that you can make huge and get inside and look at differently. So we're still playing with that. We're not selling it, and we don't see anything too soon coming, but I think, like I said, the metaverse is a part of everything. So what will email look like when you're in your headset most of the day? Like, it might have a totally different experience,
right?
The data that we sent.
Right. So that's kind of where I was getting at with that question. Like, what does the future of, like, is there any sort of future vision of being able to go inside that data, or make it immersive? And I think that's really, really interesting.
Yeah, that's where we're headed. It's still very much like the special project team is working on it, but it's really visualizing cancer data in virtual reality in a way that you can see it or see new things from it, because it's interactive and larger. We had a group of doctors in the room to see just a picture of what we're thinking, and they just made it huge, and they were talking about it in a way that you were like, yeah, this will work. If they can interact with data in a physical space like that, it's gonna bring new ideas and insights for sure.
Amazing. That's so revolutionary, and I can't wait to see it one day.
Yeah. Well, you can come see the early stuff whenever you want.
Yeah, I'd love to. All right. Do we have any questions from the audience? You guys are here?
So fun.
Yes, can I ask something?
Yeah,
sure.
Hello there. I wanted to ask regarding the AR headsets. I understand how VR works since I have the Oculus stuff, but for example, how would it work with HoloLens? Would they still see a virtual environment but still see the real world?
So not in AR. So in AR, you would see all of us here. You would see, this cocktail and you could maybe see this if it's its own 3D model, but you wouldn't see the environment around you. So you wouldn't see the pool or the landscape. That's all here. That's set as an environment.
So is this VR meeting compatible with an AR meeting? So would they be able to join this area here?
Yes, people in AR could join. It'll just look different.
Okay, got it.
But that's okay, because if the performance was that engaging...
All right. Well, I guess we can join the party then. It was so fun to have this chat with you.
Awesome.
Yay! Here, I'm coming over for a double high five.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Abby, for being our very first... Oh, yeah. High five for you, too. For being our very first guest on our little spatial podcast / recording in our party. And yeah, I mean, it's such a fun day we have going on here. And thank you to our cameraman and to the wonderful people who listened in.
Thanks, y'all.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh, it would be very...